So today we're going to look at gerunds or gerunds, and especially how they relate to uh, verbs, because they are not verbs, and we're going to look at that. All right. So first we're going to play one of my favorite games, which is Guess the Tense. I am loving this cheesecake. This is a review of some tenses that we did, and it is important in relation to gerunds. So if you look at this one, what tense is this? I'll give you 5 seconds. You should have said present continuous, right? Because we have our am auxiliary verb there, and we have our main verb loving that work together, and it's got a subject, okay, right? That is doing the action, and therefore it is present continuous. Next one, right? I was thinking about unicorns. Pause the video if you need some more time to think about it. Hopefully you said past continuous. Again, we have our ing main verb and we have our auxiliary verb was that is helping this verb. And then we have our subject who is doing this action, who is I was thinking. Past continuous. Next one. Again, pause the video if you need to think about it, right? We have future continuous. There we go, right. This time we have two auxiliary verbs, will and be, and it can be shall as well, it doesn't matter. And we have our main verb coming, and then we have our subject that will be doing the action, right? Future continuous. So why am I showing you this? Okay, all three of these are verbs in the ing form, right? Verb, verb, verb. They're called present participle verbs, right? And they work together with, so they work together, these verbs, these are all verbs, they work together with the auxiliary verb in front of them, sometimes two, like will be, am, was, the helping verb that helps them to become an action there. And of course we have a subject who is doing the action. I can ask myself, who will be? Who will be coming in first place? And the answer will be I will be coming in first place. Right, so there's a clear subject there. But now we're going to look at gerunds. So let's look at the sentence. Jumping, whoops, jumping is insane. Now what you'll notice first off, something's missing here in front of our gerund, right? We don't have an auxiliary verb, number one. We have the word is, and you're thinking, but isn't that an auxiliary verb? So, no, that is actually a linking verb that is linking insane to jumping. So in this case, insane is an adjective and jumping is a noun, because what is insane? Jumping is insane. It's a thing. I don't know who's doing the jumping. There's no subject here. I don't know who is doing the jumping here, but I'm describing. And what is insane? Insane is an adjective, and it is describing jumping. And adjectives can only describe nouns. So this jumping here has to be a noun. And I can replace jumping with the word it. And it, of course, is a pronoun, right? So what do pronouns do? They replace nouns. Okay, a pronoun replaces a noun. So again, if we follow our rules, jumping has to be a noun. But it's not a normal noun. It has a special name. And that name is gerund. Right, don't worry about that. That's just a pronunciation. Okay, it is a verb in ing form used as a noun. Because we look at this and we think, hey, it has ing. It has to be a verb, but it's not always. Okay, Now, a gerund must have ing. Okay, it is only the nouns with ing in them that can be gerunds. That's very important. That's the first rule. So the first rule is it must have ing, and then it is used as a noun, and then it's a gerund. Now there are different ways you can use this, so let's look at that. First of all, a gerund can be used as a subject, right? Now what does that mean? The subject is what does the action. So in this sentence, it says running is a good way to explore. Now one of my main rules here is, oh, is there an auxiliary verb? No. No auxiliary verb in front of running. So, and here we have our one verb, which is this one, and is here is once again a linking verb because it's on its own. There's no other verb here. And if I say, what is a good way to explore? Running is a good way to explore. So it is the subject. It's what is, running is. So it's doing the action and therefore it's a subject. It's used as a noun and therefore it has to be a gerund. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. It can also be used as an object. Okay, so there is a verb. Now you're like, oh, but there's a verb in front of running, but that's not an auxiliary verb. That is the main verb of the sentence, and it's also the only verb of the sentence, right? The subject of the sentence here is he, because I can say, who likes, he likes. That's the subject. But what does he like? He likes running. That is the object of the sentence, and therefore it is a noun and it is a gerund. Because I can say he likes chocolate, he likes movies. Those things are nouns. Nouns. He likes running. He's not running right now. Running is a thing, a noun, a gerund that he likes. Okay, this one gets tricky. An object of a preposition, right? So here I am thinking of running. Thinking is a verb. That's an ing verb because it's got its auxiliary verb in front of it here, okay? And it also has a clear subject that is doing the action of thinking. So thinking is a verb. But I am thinking of running. If I'm thinking of running, I am not running right now. Running is a thing that I'm thinking of, and of is a preposition, like at or in between or on top of. And a preposition tells you the relationship of a noun always. I am at school. School is a noun. I am in between John and uh, and Tommy, right? John and Tommy are nouns. So if there's a preposition in front of it, like of, then it is also a noun, and then it's a gerund, right? Now this one is the hard. This was probably the hardest one of the four ways. A subject complement. Now you do need to know what that means. I want to explain it, but you don't need to remember that term. So the first thing you're going to look at is, oh, sir, there's an auxiliary verb in front of running, which means running is a verb. No, it's not. Is, in this case, is a linking verb. Now the subject of this sentence is hobby, not me. Okay, that's not the subject, right? The hobby is the subject. And can hobbies do running? No, they can't. I can run, but if I say my hobby is running, then is a verb on its own. It is a linking verb, okay? And I'm saying running is my hobby, right? Do you see how I switched it around? Running is my hobby. Running is then not a verb. I can also say my new hobby is soccer. Soccer is not a verb. Soccer is a noun. My new hobby is Lego. That's a noun, right? So running here is used as a noun. The hobby is not running. Okay, the hobby is not busy running. The hobby is the running. You can almost put the in front of it. Makes it a noun, which makes it a gerund. Okay, know this is tricky, so we're going to practice it. I'm going to skip this one. Okay, so You can pause your video if you want to take a bit longer to think. What you have to do is you have to tell me if the word in blue is a verb or a gerund. Right. So eating is not allowed while you're swimming. I'll give you a few seconds. It is a gerund. There's no auxiliary verb in front of it. Right. The main verb is, but eating here is the subject of the sentence because eating is not allowed. Eating is doing the action. It's a subject, and a subject has to be a noun, okay? And therefore, it is a gerund. Let's get to the next one. Same sentence. Eating is not allowed while you're swimming. Okay, pause the video if you want to think a little longer. It has to be a verb. Here's your auxiliary verb, right? That goes with it. That's the first thing. Tells you that it's a verb because it has a helping verb. And it has a clear subject. I know who is doing this action. So it has to be a verb, right? Next one. My friends and I love swimming. Verb or gerund? Pause the video if you want to think longer. It has to be a gerund. Now you're thinking, but teacher, that's a verb. That's helping. Oh, it's not helping it. That's not an auxiliary verb. Your auxiliary verbs has to be am, is, are, was, were, and will be. It's not one of those. Okay. This one is the object of a sentence. Because my subject is my friends and I. It's a compound subject. That whole thing is a subject. Who loves swimming? My friends and I love swimming. But you can say, what do they love? And what will always be answered with a noun. Okay, right. And this is a noun. It is an object of the sentence, and therefore it is a gerund. Right. Excuse my mouse handwriting. It's quite horrible. Okay, next one. There was a lot of shooting and punching in the movie we were watching. Pause the video if you want to take some more time to think about this one. Watching here is a verb. We have a clear auxiliary verb that is helping this main verb here. And we have a clear subject. Who was watching? We were watching. Right. So that's a clear verb there. Next one. John and I are practicing our kicking for tomorrow's soccer game. Okay. So just think about this one for a second. If you want to pause, you can pause the video to think a little longer. This one is a gerund. Now this is a tricky one because you're thinking, but John and I are practicing our kicking, which means John and I are kicking right now. Not exactly. The action going on here is are practicing. And the thing, the noun that you're practicing is kicking. Because I can say, for example, something like, we are practicing our skills. Couldn't I? I could replace kicking with skills. And skills is not a verb. That's a noun, right? Another way you can know this is that our is an adjective. It's a possessive adjective. You might want to think it's a pronoun, but it's not. It is an adjective. And what do adjectives do? They describe nouns. Our kicking. Okay, right. It doesn't clearly say it doesn't say John and I are kicking. It says John and I are practicing. This is the verb. Okay, so that's a gerund. Next one. Pause the video if you want to think a little longer. There was a lot of shooting and punching in the movie we were watching. That has to be a gerund. Okay, now the first way you know that, there is no auxiliary verb. Of is a preposition, and if there's a preposition in front of it, then it has to be a noun, and that means it's a gerund. Another way you know that is the only subject in this sentence is we. And what are we doing? We are watching. We're watching a movie. But are we doing the shooting here? No, you're not. You're watching a movie with shooting in it. You're not doing the shooting. If you are doing the shooting in the movie theater, that's That's wrong, right? You're not supposed to do that, right? Be a massive crime. You're watching the movie, and there is a thing. There is shooting in the movie. You can say there was a lot of guns in the movie, right? There was a lot of action in the movie, and those are nouns. So shooting is a noun, and it is a gerund. Let's do this one. Pause the video if you want to think longer. John and I are practicing our kicking for tomorrow's soccer game. Right. Verb, for sure. Here's your subject, John and I. Who is doing the action? John and I. Here's our auxiliary verb, and here is our main verb. Right. And it's clearly because who is doing the practicing? John and I are doing the practicing. Okay. I think we're going to make this our last one. Pause the video if you want to think longer and analyze it a bit longer. Answer here is a gerund. First off, at, right? At is a preposition, so it's not an auxiliary verb. And prepositions connect to nouns, which means it has to be a gerund. Okay, I am saying that I'm very good at drawing, right? So what are you good at? I can say, what are you good at? And what, the answer to what is always a noun, right? What are you good at? I am good at drawing. All right. Oh, we have one more. Pause the video if you want to think a little longer. The answer is a verb because there's your auxiliary verb, there's your main verb that it is helping, there's your subject that is doing the action. Okay, okay, auxiliary verb, subject's there, and this is your main verb, right? Who is saying? I am saying. There we go.